We've been talking a lot about dating this month, and just last week we chatted about dating in a COVID world and how that has changed our approach to relationships. Well, today we'd like to welcome back Vincent Genna, a psychic therapist who can help us discover the love of our life by digging deep into our souls. Vincent, it's so good to see you again.
Oh, thank you for having me back. I'm surprised that you would have me back again.
Oh, please. No. So when you came on earlier in August, so you and I, we had discussed many things. Myths about relationships, including whether or not a soulmate actually exists and so on and so forth. So we've been kind of touching on just dating in this world today in August. And I wanted to check back in with you because, you know, now that we understand that our soulmate develops after we've gotten to know somebody, how do we then maintain that relationship?
Oh, what a great question. That's one of the most important questions after you attract a relationship. When people came to me for couple counseling or couple therapy, I said to them, there is no such thing as couple therapy. I'm not going to sit here and teach you how to speak correctly to her and have her speak correctly to you, and you learn how to listen to it. If you learn how to deal with yourself, you will automatically apply that to the couple relationship. So each person is supposed to go through their own healing process because there's plenty of things in our lives to heal. I mean, we have so many other issues because of the stories we had when we were younger. So you work on growth. Even if you took care of those issues, you still are working on self-growth, but you do it together. So you read a book together and you talk about it. You watch an inspirational movie together and you talk about it. You go to lectures together. You go to spiritual centers. Whatever you do to help you grow individually, you do it together. There are too many people doing individual things off by themselves, going to their own retreats separately, coming home, one's growing, the other one's not growing, and then everybody's wondering why the relationship isn't working out.
Well, if I can also interrupt you there for just a second, because what you're talking about are activities in which you are developing yourself. So these are not necessarily just vacations and, you know, go out, have fun, and you know, it's fleeting and you come back home and you're back to your old lives again. This actually sounds like you're developing yourself, but then also the communication that takes place afterwards. So communication is also really important.
The communication is going to occur. See, everything that we do externally reflects what we've been doing internally. If you don't know how to communicate and be honest with yourself, you certainly will not be able to do that with another person. Yes, there's plenty of books out there on active listening, how to correctly respond and receive what another person is saying. But that becomes absolutely natural, Layla, when you're doing that with yourself. We don't even listen to ourselves when our inner voice is trying to tell us, you know, maybe that's not a really good thing for you to do. We basically just hush it off. Goodbye. I don't want to listen to you. I'm going to do what I want. Right. And that's what we do in our relationships then. And when we talk, you know that 5 Love Languages book?
Yes.
I actually hate it. Because it was written backwards.
Oh, really?
Yes. If you go to France, do you take an English-French translation book with you, go to the restaurant, hand it to the waiter, and say, I need you to learn my language so that you can interpret the menu for me?
Good point. No. That's a good point.
That's right. We learn their language, so when they're speaking it, we know what they're saying.
So what you're telling us is that we actually need to listen?
We need to listen, and we need to understand how the other person is speaking and saying, I love you. Each person has their own way. Yes, that book is right, listing the 5 different ways. There's probably even more. 5 different ways people express love, but those are the ways that you can begin to learn how that person is saying, I care about you, I love you. Not each person is going to speak each other's language.
Of course.
And I can't learn your language and know when to speak it, when not to speak it. It's so much easier if I know what you're saying and how you're saying it, how it relates to me.
Interesting. This is a good place to take a break, Vincent. When we come back after this, though, what I want to get a little bit more into is, yes, identifying the love language in others, but then also how to get your ego out of it, because I think ego plays big in a relationship when someone's coming from a place of, I'm always correct, right? So let's talk about that in 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. We're here with Vincent Genna. He's a psychic therapist. We've been talking about relationships, how to hold on to the good ones. And we just kind of summarized, if you can summarize for us what the love language idea is in a relationship and how to apply it properly.
Well, the way to apply that properly, Layla, is to understand how the other person is communicating with you and saying, I love you. How do they say it? How do they act? How do they respond? So that way you understand that the way they're acting will be saying, hey, honey, I love you. You know, it doesn't have to be your way. Then it becomes about you and not the other person.
That's so true. I can relate in so many ways to that statement just then. But don't you think that one's ego also gets in the way? Because it sounds like, just with what you said, if you're expecting someone to be a mirror image of what you're giving them back to you, that's saying a lot about your ego?
No, actually, what that is saying is how much you have grown. Now, each person is going to display it differently. So it's not like you're attracting you, but
right.
You're attracting your foundation, your core beliefs. Certainly, if you like to be a genuine, sincere person, you want somebody who's going to be genuine and sincere. If you want somebody who is maybe communicative and talks a lot and shares feelings, you need to be that way. If you want somebody who's fun and loves life and wants to go out and travel, you need to be that way. So everything you want in another person is what you need to have in you. Now, the idea of the ego, that thing only gets pushed and the buttons get pushed when the person is feeling insecure about themselves. So in other words, here's how an argument can happen. My wife comes home from work, right, and I've been busy. And she walks in and innocently turns around and says, oh, I thought dinner would be ready by the time I got home. And now I turn around and I say, well, what do you think I was doing? I wasn't playing all day. I was working. And then she turns around and said, well, why are you raising your voice to me? I'm not saying anything other than, yes, you are. You're making it sound. Why does that occur? That has nothing to do with ego. That has to do, again, with those internal self-feelings of inadequacy. I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable enough. And now the other person winds up saying something that you allowed to trigger one of those buttons. So there is where it seems to get in the way. And this is the reason why I say the self-healing work must come, but together, so those buttons get dissipated, disappear, go away, and not pushed by each other.
Fantastic. Vincent, thank you so much for this advice. You're a fountain of wisdom.
Oh, listen to you. Thank you. Oh, and keep inviting me back. I'll share more fountain-ness.
Please. We need it. We need it. Thank you so much. Good to see you again.
Oh, thank you for having me back.
We're back after this.